In this video, what I want to do is explain why so many realtors struggle with online lead generation. This is a massive problem because people just simply do not have the right perspective going into online lead generation. And after this video, I'm going to clear all of that up for you. So what I'm going to do is break out the difficulties that people have, how to resolve them, and how to have the right frame of reference and perspective when going into online lead generation. This is going to make a massive difference in your business. It helped me triple my business in 1 year back when I was still focusing on production, and hopefully it's going to help you do the same. So without further ado, let's dive in and show you how to dominate with online lead generation. What's up, guys? It's Mike Sherrard with eXp Realty. I train thousands of agents every year to scale their business the modern way. If you do want my free social media training showing you how to leverage every single platform to build your personal brand, attract clients to scale with video, YouTube, and all of the different lead strategies you can use, just drop a comment below. I'll gladly send it to you. But without further ado, let me pick up my trusty notepad here and start diving into why so many people struggle with online lead generation. Now, the first reason that so many people struggle with it is because they don't understand top, middle, bottom of funnel. And then I'm going to get into the really important one, which is part number 2. So this is part 1 of 4, is the top, middle, and bottom of funnel. And if you look at this, this is kind of how it's set up here. We've got the top, the middle, bottom. So you've got top of funnel, you've got middle of funnel, and then you've got bottom of funnel. And when you look at lead generation, a lot of people, again, don't properly understand the sequence of bringing their clients down through the funnel. And what happens is middle of funnel is like your warm audience. This is your hot audience, and this is your cold audience. So when you look at this, you're supposed to be bringing people into the top of the funnel who have never heard of you before. They don't know who you are. They have no like, no, and trust factor, and they're just hearing about you for the first time. Bring them into the top of the funnel. And when doing that, you want to use value-driven ads, right? Because you want people to know what the value is that you provide versus other agents in your market. And then what you want to do after they understand the value is you want to bring them to the middle of funnel. And by doing the middle of funnel, this is warming them up. And this is by using things like, again, additional information that's going to be like market updates. It's going to be things like property tours showing the quality of work that you do. And most importantly is leveraging your CRM to drip or nurture them, drip campaigns. And then finally, when we start looking at the final step of this, this is going to be bringing them into the bottom of the funnel. And the bottom of the funnel is people that are ready to book appointments. And this is going to be done through a call to action. So CTA, right? This is where you start doing like really specific lead generation ads tailored on home evaluations and things like that. So here's the problem with the funnel sequence is a lot of people are going straight to the middle of funnel, but they're sending their ads to a top of funnel audience who've never heard about them before, and they're expecting bottom of funnel results, which is booking appointments, which just simply doesn't happen. So when we start looking at this, we really need to look at how can we draw parallels between bringing people down through a sequence, leading with value, and using different types of advertising. But this brings the most important one, which is people not understanding the proper phase of advertising. Let me break this down for you. You've got month 1, you've got month 2, and then you've got month 3, and then you've got month 4 or 3 plus, I'll say. So when we start looking at this, let me explain where so many people go wrong. A lot of people have this mindset that you can just simply have the perfect one-size-fits-all Facebook ad or Google ad that works for every agent, for every budget, in every market, every time, that generates hot leads for like $2 per lead. It has never happened. It will never happen. It doesn't exist, and I'll explain why. So when we start looking at this, let me explain what you need to be doing. Month 1, you should be treating this as data gathering. This is literally just a month to gather data by testing a ton of different ads, different copy, different creatives. Creatives are like the photos and videos, copy is the written words, and test it all to see which ones are performing the best. Because a lot of agents are just using one ad, one copy, one creative, and then thinking, hey, it doesn't work. Well, that's not the case. I test 16 at a time, minimum, usually 32. So you want to be testing a number of different ads to use data-driven decisions, not emotional, but logical, to see which ones are actually going to be performing the best. Well, month 2, and by the way, month 1, my mindset, my expectation is to net $0. I don't care if I get any money. I want to get data. I don't care about money. I care about data. That's how you need to go into month number 1. Month number 2 is optimization. So this is where you start to look at the data and you start to optimize based on that data to really hone in on the ones that are starting to do better. And then by month 3, this is where you want to scale. And this is where you can start to expect a positive return on your investment, because this is where you've identified the ads that are working the best, you've proven it through the data, and now based on getting the right lead, cost per lead, and conversion and booked appointments, you can then scale with that budget. But it's a 3-month process. And then month 3 onward is where you increase budget. And this is where also you're going to test more and try new things that, because at the end of the day, a lot of things are not relevant for too long. So you always want to be testing new stuff on the back end. So this is a 3-month process, as you can see here within these 3 months, that you should not be expecting to get booked appointments for 3 months. In reality, if you're approaching it the right way, for me, that's how I approached it. That's how anyone in marketing, they use the 3-month approach. Month 1, gather data. Month 2, optimize. Month 3, scale. Well, a lot of people are trying to scale from day 1 with no proof of data, and they've never tested anything for their market. How can you do that? It's impossible, right? So you have to invest into getting the data so that you can scale and get the lowest cost per lead possible. The only way you can do that is if you look at the data, you optimize, and then you scale based on what's proven to work, not the ones that you're assuming are going to work. And another thing that I actually wasn't going to talk about, but I guess I will right now, is also just having a better understanding of what return on ad spend is. So ROAS, return on ad spend, right? So if you look at the average agent and they sell a property and they make, let's just say, for example, cheap property, they make $5,000. Well, a lot of agents are going to spend, $600 on Facebook ads or Google ads, and they haven't gotten anything else yet. So then they say it doesn't work, right? And they get all sad and unfortunate. Well, unfortunately, if you could spend $600 and get a $5,000 return, I'd be a billionaire right now. I'd be doing it all day long. I'd be spending $1 million a day, right? But at the end of the day, that's not how it works. So what you need to do is look at your average commission and say, okay, the average commission's 5. Well, usually you want to get at least a 2 return on your ad spend. If not 3, 3 is ideal, but 2 is so good. I should be comfortable spending $2,500 to get 1 closed deal. But a lot of people just quit before this is even possible or reality, right? Because they're not looking at the return they're getting from their investment. They're just looking at what some internet guru's telling them about getting, closing deals every single day with every single lead. And that's just not how it works. So now let me explain another important concept that I was going to get into, which is part number 3, which is looking at what online lead generation is for. All right, so we kind of draw this line. You've got traditional and then you've got modern, right? So traditional will be things like knocking and calling, cold calling. And then modern is going to be like Facebook, IG, Google ads, things like that, right? All this online lead generation. Well, let's look at the goal here. The goal here is to save the most precious commodity, which is time, right? But here's where a lot of agents fall short. A lot of agents think that traditional prospecting, yes, it requires time, so they're trying to alleviate their time, but they somehow have this misconception that with online lead generation, you just let it rip and deals just start flowing. Well, when you look at the reality of what online lead generation does, is all that it does is it simply gives you leverage of your time. You still need to nurture these leads. You still need to follow up with these leads. When you get a client from, let's say, door knocking, after you door knock them, you follow up with them, you call them, you nurture them, you drip on them, you provide them with value, and then they will convert, usually after the 7th touch point if you look at statistics. The same thing goes with lead generation. There's still a cold human being that does not know you, seeing you for the first time. Don't you think that it still requires the same amount of effort in order to close them once you get the lead? It's the same amount of effort. It's just leveraging your time. But a lot of agents have this false, I don't know why perspective, where they just think because it's a Facebook ad and somebody decided to click, that the intent is 1,000,000 times higher than the average person and that they don't have to put any work into converting an online lead. Well, that's like saying because somebody picked up the phone or answered the door that they're willing to list with you today. This doesn't make any sense. You need to view online lead generation solely as the ability to create time leverage. You still have to put the effort in. You still need to follow up. You still need to have the right systems in place. Otherwise, you're not going to get very far. So now what I want to do is go into the last section, which is people are not treating leads as humans. And what I mean by that is treat people how you want to be treated. And this is a principle that I've always lived by, instilled by my mother, but it's a reality that we all need to think about. A lot of people refer to leads. These are humans. How do you want to be treated? If you clicked on a Facebook ad, and this is a big thing that you really need to take note of, let's say that you clicked on a Facebook ad. Well, if you clicked on this Facebook ad, how do you want somebody to follow up with you? Do you just want an automated drip sequence over and over and over that you can tell is pre-populated? Do you think you would respond to that? The answer is no, you wouldn't. So how can you expect anybody else to respond to that? If you are using templated voice drops that nobody, responds to, maybe you shouldn't look at why is nobody responding to my voice drops. Listen to them yourself and say, would you respond to those? Right? These are other humans that interact the same way that you would interact. But people are treating these leads as people that are just supposed to magically want to buy or sell tomorrow after the first time hearing them, after having no value and no interest in terms of building like, know, and trust factor, and not spending any time actually investing into the personalization of this. So when you start looking at how to excel at lead generation, a couple things. Number one, start to understand the funnel process. Start to really look at leading with value, which could be a community tour. It could be a market update. It could be something that talks about what you do differently, anything that showcases the value of work that you do. Then you want to use your CRM, which most people don't, and you want to warm them up, and then you want to lead with more value, which again is demonstrating through property tours, the quality of work that you do, market reports, the information that you know, community highlights, showing the wealth of knowledge you have and your finger on the pulse of the market. And then you can go for the booked appointments and the call to action once you've done that and once you've been dripping on them for a certain amount. The next thing, again, to reiterate, you need to understand month one is about gathering data. You should not expect to be getting closed deals month one. It happens. It's happened for me. It's happened for many people that I've worked with. But don't expect that because you're setting yourself up for failure by bringing instant gratification into the picture. Month two, optimize. Look at the data. Study it. Cut the ones that are not doing well and double down on the ones that are doing well so that by month three, you can scale and you can go like a rocket ship and really build this up. But that's where you're going to start to see a positive ROI. Now, looking at the return on ad spend, again, calculate what your average commission is. Is it $10,000, $7,500, $5,000, whatever your situation is, and really start to look at return on ad spend over the course of a quarter or over the course of 6 months. That is going to show you if you're profitable or not that you've spent $600 and got nothing, and now you think suddenly it never works and it's not going to work. It's not the case. You just haven't committed long enough. And then understanding that, again, it is all about creating leverage of your time. It does not remove all of the effort. It does not mean that you can just get an online lead, throw them on a drip campaign, and then they're just going to convert at scale. If they did, every agent would be doing 100 plus deals a year, right? It still requires the work, the same amount of work it does to nurture a traditional prospecting lead. The only difference is you've removed your time more or less from getting the lead. So you've got ads running 24/7. Instead of having to door knock and cold call and put your physical time into it, you're able to remove your physical time by using modern strategies, but you still have to use the same amount of time to convert the online leads. And then finally, leads are humans. Treat people how you want to be treated, and treat people, again, how you'd want somebody to treat your daughter or your son if you were a lead, right? If they were a lead, if your daughter was a lead, if your son was a lead, how would you want somebody to treat them? Automated stuff? Would you expect them? Would you respond to that? Probably not. So hopefully these perspectives give you a better frame of reference as to how to succeed with online lead generation, because it's incredibly powerful if you go in with the right perspective. If you set the expectations properly, like we did here, and you go in with this mentality, you can scale, you can build. And again, I tripled my production in 1 year just by understanding these principles that unfortunately not too many people do. So if you have any other questions about online lead generation, drop a comment below and I'll answer all of you. And hopefully you found this valuable. If you did, give it one of these for me, please, because it helps me out a ton. So thanks so much for tuning in. As always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.